Buenos días, ¿qué tal? Conectados por la Coctelería, una jornada más. Hoy lo vamos a hacer desde la catedral con nuestro amigo Boada.
Muy buenos días.
Boada, que está muy preparado, lleva desde las 7 de la mañana limpiando el bar, preparándolo para que todo esté inmaculado. Tiene el internet a punto y vamos a conectar hoy con Jared Brown y con Anastasia Miller. Y va a ser una jornada súper interesante donde hablaremos sobre historia de coctelería, donde también nos hablaremos un poco de las trayectorias de los dos. Mira, ahí tenemos a Jared Brown. Tiene nombre como de cantante, ¿no?
Ya tiene nombre de artista.
Igual que...
Igual, no tiene nada que ver con Jared Brown. Es que suena, además Jared como habla es impresionante. Here is Jared Brown. Good morning, Jared.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Buenos días, ¿qué tal?
Nice to see you.
Great to see you. Oh, wonderful. I'm not even on mute.
I want to see you from a long, long time ago. It's very nice. At least we meet in Insta.
Yes. Oh, it's great to see you again and wonderful to be in Boadas.
Yes, at least my Insta. Yeah. We are here with Maria Dolores.
Yes. Yes, absolutely.
Hope everything is fine and you're safe. Everyone is safe. Jared?
Yes, all wonderful. All good here. And
who's all good here?
Here he is.
Hi, how are you?
Hi.
Good morning.
Good morning. Too early for you. No?
right.
Still working up. Still waking up.
Not for me.
Morning is a challenge for everyone in this industry.
Mucho madrugada, ¿eh?
For me,
Closest for going to bed.
for me too. He made me to wake up too early too.
Yes. Yeah, this is a good time to finish the night and go to bed.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, so I present you Hugo. Hugo is the interviewer. And he has a little school of cocktail, a great big little school in Malaga, and he make a lot of connections with the best like you to share your knowledge with all the pupils. So I present you Hugo. Hugo.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah.
Hello.
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 And I will go in translating as quickly as I can because I know you love to speak like me. So I will try to translate you a little bit. So he will start in Spain and I translate for you.
Bueno, la primera cosa sería agradeceros vuestro tiempo y nada, vamos a hablar un poquito antes de nada sobre quiénes son Jared Brown y Anastasia Miller.
Okay, so he says, first of all, thanks a lot for being here. It's a great pleasure to have you here. It's an incredible pleasure and honor. And the first question, of course, is who are you? Who is Jared Brown and Anastasia?
Si es posible, que ella diga quién es él y al revés.
Okay, if it's possible, Jared, you speak about her and you speak about him. Okay, cross.
Okay.
Anastasia Miller is a historian of drink. She has taken 2 master's degrees at Oxford in the subject. She is now working on a doctorate at Bristol because Oxford could not offer her anything more.
Okay. Bueno, nos dice, es muy bestia, nos dice que Anastasia es doctora en historia y además tiene 2 másters en Oxford y además está sacando un nuevo máster en la Universidad de Bristol, o sea que casi nadie. Ahí, oh my God, oh my God. Possible.
I made it too tough for them.
Now Jared, you will be.
She's also my co-author on, I think, 36 books or so, and maybe 2,500 articles.
Mamá. Aparte de todo, es coautora de más de 36 libros de Jared, con Jared, y más de, entendido, 2.000 y pico, no, 2.000 o 12.000, no estoy seguro, 12.000 y pico artículos de historia. Oh my God! It's not
She hired me as a waiter for a party in her apartment in New York. And the next day I went back and I asked her to marry me. And,
Very
No.
decisive person.
Oh, man. Oh, my God. This is the most lovely history I ever heard in my
no,
life.
the best part is she said yes.
You're right. You're so right. Oh, aquí mira, I am in love now. Jared nos cuenta que la conoció un día, subió como camarera a su apartamento y al día siguiente le pidió matrimonio y le dijo que sí. y de esto, and how long time ago?
Even worse. That was 30 years ago as of this December.
Imagínate.
And
30 años. Incredible. Congratulations.
we were married 1 month after we met.
Un mes después de conocerse. Incredible. Un mes después de conocerse.
Still the same guy. Mm.
So I didn't even know at the time that she had had her first bartending job age 16 in Chicago, or that her father had worked in the whiskey industry in America.
Su primer trabajo de Aristide fue con 16 años en Chicago, donde su padre trabajaba en la industria del whisky. Incredible history. Eh? Incredible history. You put together. Absolutely incredible.
So,
But I did find out when we went to Berlin Bar Show years ago, and Fred No from Jim Beam saw her before she saw him. And he started shouting, "Annie, Annie, I haven't seen you since you were this high." And she looked over, "Fred, I haven't seen you
since you were this wide."
So they had played together as children.
Bueno, increíble. Vaya historia más buena. Sí, bueno, en Berlín hace unos años, en el Berlín Convent Bar, se encontró con el director de Jim Beam y la vio desde lejos y le dijo: "Ani, eres tú, no te veo desde que eres así de pequeñita". Y le dijo Ani: "Bueno, yo no te veo, Fred, no te veo a ti desde que eres así de flaquito". Y claro, porque su padre trabajaba en la industria del whisky en Chicago y se conocían desde niños. Incredible history. As more you speak, is bigger, the history. Crazy.
There's too much of it. That's the problem. Now, about him.
I should leave.
Him, now you.
Come back here. Come back here. If I had to sit through it, you sit through it. Okay. Jared Brown is also a historian. And my co-author and my husband. Yeah, believe it or not, you are. And he is the master distiller of Sipsmith Gin. What? He's also a pretty good cook. Gotta admit, on top of that. Definitely a good cook. But he is probably the craziest person I know. He will dig into anything. He will look for things that even I don't find sometimes, and that's hard to do. But when he woke me up one time at 3:30 in the morning and said, "I found it." What did you find? The original time that the word cocktail was put into print. I said, "Try me." He goes, 1798, England, London. And I went, "What?" So I was wide awake. That's the kind of person he is. Always looking, always thinking.
But I also, when I found it, I waited an hour before I told her so I could do a load of other background research so she wouldn't just wake up and find something even better immediately.
Give me 1 second to translate because it's too long. So, nos cuenta Ani de una manera maravillosísima y con esos ojos de que ven que me tenéis loco a mí, que Jared es su marido, que es el coautor, por supuesto, de todos los libros también con ella, que además él mismo es historia, una gran verdad. Jared es historia en sí mismo, que es uno de los profesionales más locos que jamás ha conocido, y nos cuenta una historia, para no prolongarme mucho, muy que nos lleva mucho a la eureka de los genios, ¿no? De que la despierta a las 3:30 de la mañana y le dice, lo encontré. ¿Qué encontraste? Encontré de dónde viene, ¡pum! Cualquier cosa y este tipo de personas, Yares, ¿no? Una persona que siempre está pensando nuevas recetas, nuevas partes de la historia, intentando descubrirlo y que es capaz de no dormir hasta las 3:30 de la mañana y despertar a la mujer para decirle, lo he encontrado, lo que estaba buscando. Es amazing, Jared, es increíble. La verdad es que si yo tengo el enorme placer de conocerlo y de disfrutar de su amistad y todo lo que dice Ani es poco. Es verdad, es un grandísimo genio. So, you have more or we go for the next question?
I think that's enough.
That's
enough.
Here we go, next question.
Vale, la siguiente pregunta es cuando vas a hacer un trabajo de investigación, ¿cómo consigues saber qué es verdad, qué no es verdad y por dónde hay que tirar, ¿no?
So when you're making an investigation labor for a book, how do you know who is a lie or who is the truth? No, which part of what you are trying to know? How you know this is real or this is a fake?
Okay, this is my joke.
I research, and then when I'm pretty sure I know the answer, then I ask her.
And then I go, no, it's not true. It's okay. It's all right.
You are the library for this.
Yeah, it's actually sometimes the problem was when we first started writing, I didn't have access to a lot of the documents I do now. And so we would read something and go, wow, that is great. The Bloody Mary was invented by Harry McElhone and everything's cool. No, it was Pete Petio, but let's not get an argument.
It was at the King Cole Bar in New York.
No, it wasn't. It was at the New York bar.
It was originally called the Red Snapper because they thought Bloody Mary was too vulgar.
No, it wasn't. You see, that's the problem. I think the problem with drink history is you look a lot of times at what we read, and unfortunately, old bartenders get drunker than young bartenders, and when they write it in a book, they invent anything they can to make a customer happy.
So he's got to translate that.
Now I'm going to let him translate that.
I will try. Bueno, nos dice que Jared y Ani que Jared se dedica a buscar y hacerse preguntas y Ani le da la respuesta. Porque Ani es la que tiene el conocimiento de todos los libros porque ahora tienen acceso a muchos libros y a muchísimos documentos que anteriormente no tenía acceso hace muchos años y eso le da la gran ventaja de poder saber qué es verdad y qué es mentira entre lo que están buscando. Por ejemplo, nos está hablando un poquito, ¿no? De que, por ejemplo, te puedes preguntar que el Bloody Mary se creó en Cuba o en Nueva York o en Chicago por tal persona y resulta que no tiene nada que ver. De hecho, le decía a Jared que venía del Red Snapper y nos dice que no, que ya nos lo contará y que quizás el gran problema que tenemos hoy en día en la historia de la coctelería, los historiadores, es que muchos son capaces de poner cualquier cosa en un libro porque la han visto sin comprobarla, solamente para crear, sobre todo los nuevos bartenders y los nuevos escritores que no se preocupan de llegar al trasfondo y de saber qué es verdad y qué es mentira, y ese es el gran problema, que tenemos muchos libros llenos de muchas mentiras.
Yeah, but the interesting thing is we just found was that gin was not invented all of a sudden, brought over by the Dutch because of a king in 1688. Gin's been around a lot longer than that in England, by a couple of hundred years. But we wouldn't have known. We didn't know when we first wrote Shaken Not Stirred. We didn't know. You can go ahead and translate that.
Okay.
We'll start this in small pieces.
Everyone go down now. Nos cuenta Ani que todos pensamos que la ginebra viene de Holanda, ¿verdad? Que lo tenemos clarísimo todos los bartenders, que es el Dutch Courage, que venía de Holanda, que de ahí pasa a Inglaterra, y nos cuenta Ani que no, que mentira, que se hacía en Inglaterra cientos de años antes y que no lo sabían cuando escribieron el Shaken and Stir, pero que ahora sí lo saben, gracias a los nuevos documentos y acceso a los que han tenido acceso y que demuestran que todos somos unos locos y que nos lo creemos todas bien juntillas sin indagar, excepto gracias que tenemos a Ani y a Jared que con los más de 40 libros que han escrito nos están ayudando muchísimo a todos los bartenders a mejorar nuestra historia.
Cuando alguien ha escrito algo y se da cuenta años después que es mentira, ¿qué hace? Quema el libro.
When someone writes a book and then a few years later you see that something is wrong in the book, what you do? You burn the book? What can you do?
I write another book.
Escribe un nuevo libro, claro que sí.
In history, the good news is no historian, if they are a good historian, says, "Oh no, I told everything right," because we all know that the more we have the computer, the more we're able to access things that we weren't able to access before. We're going to find something else out, and all of a sudden, everything we thought was true, no.
So then you do this, but then you have to do that.
Oh well.
You revise, you expand, you issue a new edition.
And you go, oops, you know when we said, nah.
Claro que ningún historiador puede tener la verdad absoluta, nadie puede saberlo todo y entonces ahora que cada vez hay más ordenadores, más conexión, internet, más podemos profundizar más en los datos, pues evidentemente surgen nuevas cosas, nuevos datos, nuevas informaciones que desmienten ciertas cosas y simplemente lo que hay que hacer es escribir un nuevo libro, reconocer el error y sacar el nuevo libro a la venta para subsanar esos fallos.
So in the case of the origin of gin, Jared found, he was looking for a recipe. Of course, he's always looking for a recipe. And he found one, he goes, hey, I found this book, 1639. And I went, huh? Yeah, okay. I was too busy at the time. I was busy taking care of something else. Okay. So then I finally got a chance to look at the book and I went, okay, this is weird. First of all, it's a book written for the Guild of Distillers that happened way before William of Orange. Wait a minute. Now, go ahead and translate that.
Cuenta que con respecto a lo de que hablábamos de la ginebra, Jared estaba intentando buscar una nueva receta, como siempre, que es lo que Jared hace siempre, y le encontró un libro de 1639 y le dijo a Ani, mira, tengo este libro del 1639, de 1639, ¿cómo lo ves? Y ella estaba ocupada con sus cosas. Y le dijo, bueno, ahora lo miro, que estaba liada. Y claro, de repente lo vio, ostras, es un libro muy raro, es un libro muy, muy curioso. Y en este libro están encontrando muchas cosas también. Y ahí van, por ejemplo, una de por qué cuando aparecen cosas nuevas a las que no teníamos acceso antes.
So it was all written in code. And I thought, okay, secret society, Masons, ooh, fancy handshakes. And then I said, well, wait a minute. If this is recipes that they're saying are okay, they're standardized, that means there's earlier recipes. So I found recipe 1602. And I thought, okay, that means there's got to be earlier recipes. Then I found 1527. Mm-hmm. And then I started looking up in the documents in the archives and I found out, okay, this guy got his material from a guy not from Holland, but from Germany.
Imagine.
So I can actually trace back the origin of gin now to 1476 in Augsburg, Germany.
So, ahí bueno, por this. Nos cuenta Ani que en este libro han encontrado recetas, empezaron encontrando recetas en este y otros libros de 1639, después de 1579 me parece que nos ha contado, y que han conseguido rastrear ahora la ginebra hasta 1460 y algo, pero en Alemania, no ni en Holanda ni en Inglaterra.
Yeah.
Como la cosa cuando empezamos a indagar.
Si quieres avanzamos una pregunta más.
We go for one new question.
Huh? Yeah, another question.
Ready for a new question?
Vale,
He
bueno,
will-
hay muchas leyendas. Realmente, ¿de dónde viene la palabra cóctel?
Oh, he says a good question. He said there is a lot of legends about the cocktail word, where it comes, where it really comes. Cocktail.
The first time that it appeared in print, 20th of March, 1798, in reference to a drink. And it was a newspaper article in the London Morning Post and Gazetteer talking about a tavern at the corner of Downing Street and Whitehall. That tavern was torn down in 1834 to extend the Prime Minister's residence. But in 1798, Pitt the Younger, who was then Prime Minister, owed the bar for 3 different drinks: Huile de Venue, Parfait à Mort, and Cocktail, vulgarly called ginger.
So, la primera vez que encontramos la palabra cóctel, la encuentra en Inglaterra, en Downing Street, en todos los nombres que nos ha dicho, que no me voy a acordar ahora, y que aparece en 1834, aparece escrita en un periódico, pero que antes Peter el Joven, o algo así, que era el primer ministro de Inglaterra, era el dueño de un bar en 1780 y algo, me parece que ha dicho, 1783, y que en este ya aparecen en el menú tres bebidas, y una de ellas aparece con el nombre de cóctel. So, este es nuestro primer dato en el que aparece la palabra cóctel escrita.
Both the word cocktail and the word ginger at that time had references to horses. Cocktail was a horse with its tail cut short to mark it as being of mixed breed. And if you remember all the cars you passed walking to the bar this morning, now replace each of those cars with 2 horses. That's how many horses there were on the streets of the cities at that time. So horses were part of everyone's life. Now, if your horse was sick, in the veterinary book, it says, give the horse a bucket of oats with ginger and water and gin. Or
What a cocktail.
if you want to sell a horse and you're not a good person, you want to get a lot of money, you peel a piece of ginger and you stick it up the back end of the horse. And now the horse, it has wide eyes and it's bouncy and its tail is very high until the person has bought it. Then it goes back to being a lazy horse.
My God. Oh my God. And this is the origin? Really? Oh goodness. Oh, yeah.
Because the newspaper hated the prime minister because he doubled the price of their newspaper with a tax. So we think they meant both of these for Mr. Pitt.
Hostia, qué burrada de historia. Bueno, nos cuenta que lo que pasaba antiguamente, imaginaos, ahora sales a la calle y está lleno de coches. Antiguamente salías a la calle y habían caballos por todos lados, caballos, siempre caballos. Entonces, si el caballo estaba un poquito malo y estaba como tristón, lo que hacían era lo llevaban al veterinario y le daban un cóctel. Le daban un cóctel de jengibre con, si me he dicho, vodka y algo más, agua o algo así. Y le daban el cóctel al caballo y el caballo salía, pues se ponía un poquito más sano. Y si eres una persona malvada y querías vender el caballo muy, muy bien de precio, lo que hacían era coger un trocito de jengibre, pelarlo y metérselo en el ano al caballo. Entonces, cuando se lo metían en el culo al caballo, el caballo abría los ojos, se le quedaban blancos y iba con la cola derecha como si fuese claro, con el cóctel, cola de pene, con la cola levantada como un pene. Y esta es la historia real de dónde viene la palabra cóctel. Fijaos que ni cola de gallo, ni el final de las barricas de ale, ni nada. Al final mirad las vueltas que da la vida y como lo que decía antes Ani, que no nos preocupamos muchas veces de nosotros mismos, de de indagar en lo
You can explain that rather well.
amazing history, Jared. So
Explain that rather well.
But
Incredible.
the structure of the cocktail, the spirits of any kind, sugar, water, and bitters, as defined in the Balance and Columbian Repository from Hudson, New York, 13th of May, 1806. This structure comes from an older structure. It actually comes from punch, which the 5 ingredients, the strong, weak, sour, sweet, and spice. And all it is punch minus the citrus. So this is where the structure of cocktail comes from. And so when I watch someone make an old-fashioned and then put a nice big orange twist on it, it's not an old-fashioned cocktail anymore. Now it's old-fashioned punch. It's delicious, but it's a punch, not a cocktail.
Oh my. Here we go. This is, now you're killing me. Eh?
Mm-hmm.
Muy bien. So, here in Models, we do old-fashioned punch.
I never say no to a good drink.
Exactly. Exactly.
Para que veáis cómo es la vida, ¿no? Y la estructura de los cócteles. La primera vez nos cuenta Jared que la primera vez que aparece la estructura de un cóctel aparece en el libro Balance de en Repository de 1804, y que ahí aparece una estructura de la que todos conocemos de los cócteles, pero que si añadimos esta estructura viene de una estructura anterior, que es la estructura del punch, que le quitas el cítrico. Si le quitas el cítrico, ya el cóctel, con el cítrico y el spicy es el punch. Entonces, nos dice Jared que si a un old fashion le ponemos una piel de naranja, está delicioso, pero ya no es un old fashion. Ya es un old fashion punch. Con lo cual, me parece que todos hacemos old fashion punch en el mundo entero. Todo, pues, fijaos, de nuevo aquí volvemos a la necesidad del conocimiento tan profundo que tiene Jared y Annie. Es increíble hablar con vosotros. It's so amazing to speak with you. You're incredible. We go for next question.
¿Qué historia os gusta mucho pero realmente no es cierta?
Oh, okay. Which history about cocktails you like a lot, but you know it's not true?
Oh, there are so many. This is a wonderful question.
Which one you prefer? And you know it's a lie, it's a fake, but you like a lot. But you say, okay, it's a good history.
Which one?
What was her name? Molly Flanagan stirring with the rooster feather?
No. That was boring.
Okay.
That was boring. Boring. I think, let's see.
I'll take one while she's thinking.
Okay.
Because mine...
There's a few I think are wrong.
Mine is actually the most common on Wikipedia, where people will write it was invented by a speakeasy bartender in the United States during Prohibition.
Which one?
And wherever it says that, it's
Don't
bullshit.
believe it. Don't believe it.
That's how a writer writes. I don't know. So here, I'll tell you this.
But which cocktail?
Everyone that says it. For example, the bee's knees. Right now on Wikipedia, it says that. No, if you saw the movie Titanic, the old woman, Molly Brown, in real life, Molly Brown, who was a Titanic survivor, she invented the bee's knees in a bar in Paris, a women's only bar, in 1928. But on Wikipedia, it says, an unknown speakeasy bartender in America during Prohibition.
It's better.
Stop writing that crap, because when you read that on any cocktail, it is never true.
Yeah, but
he's right.
The true history than the false. It's better than the original one. It's incredible.
Oh, good point.
Titanic. It's crazy.
But the stories that we still love that aren't true.
That the Bloody Mary was invented at the King Cole Bar by Harry McElhone.
It's a
Wrong.
beautiful, beautiful spot for it to have been invented
Under
the enormous mural by Maxfield Parrish of King Cole. And
nobody ever saw a celery stick until 1966.
Oh, wait.
In Chicago.
I have a great one for this.
Vale, pues nos cuenta Jared que...
Oh, I've got a better one. I've got a better one.
I've got a better one.
You know the B&B?
Yes.
Oh, that was the one I had.
But I don't know this.
Brandy and Benedictine. They always say it was invented at the Club 21 in New York during speakeasy time. Impossible, because we found it in an 1896 cocktail book.
Okay. So.
And it's called Benedictine and Brandy. How far-fetched can you get?
And the first person who bottled the product was not influenced by some cool cowboy bartender at 21 Club, which is a much better story.
Yeah, for
but
sure.
By the man who then founded the beverage wing of the Culinary Institute of America, which shows that he was a genius and a really important person in our industry from the time, but he wasn't nearly as cool as this fictitious bartender.
So I will try to translate because it's too long. No,
you try to translate all of that, Adal.
We'll be back.
Actually, I'll be back.
She's going for coffee.
Nos cuentan Jared y Yanni que hay muchísimos cócteles que todo es mentira prácticamente, las historias, que por ejemplo el Vini nos cuenta que se supone que lo inventaron en un speakeasy en la época de la prohibición y que nada más lejos de la realidad lo inventa una barmaid que además fue una superviviente del Titanic y lo inventa en los años 20 en un bar en el que solo entraban mujeres, un bar solo para mujeres, que no tenía nada que ver con el speakeasy del que nos cuenta la historia original, que además lo pone en Wikipedia y en todos lados nos cuenta Jared. Luego hablamos también del Bloody Mary, que según nos cuentan es imposible que lo inventen donde nos dijeron y que mucho menos en Chicago porque nadie había visto en los años 20 un palo de apio. Un palo de apio en Chicago en los años 20 no estaba ni de lejos, imposible conseguirlo, con lo cual mentira. Y luego nos cuenta el Benedictine en Brandy, que también se supone que lo ha hecho un cowboy, un bartender del oeste en un speakeasy y tal, y que nada más lejos de la realidad, porque han encontrado la receta una reseña a la receta de 1866, o sea, muy anterior a cuando se dice que se crea el cóctel. Con lo cual, error también de nuevo, 3 historias que nos tiran abajo ya de diario. Next question.
¿Cuántas veces habéis cogido y habéis modificado en Wikipedia la historia?
How many times did you went to Wikipedia to change the histories, to put the real histories? Never.
I don't have time. You know, I figure the people who spend a lot of time going on Wikipedia to change things are the people who just are desperate to see their name on Wikipedia. Me, yeah. I love the information and the history for the sake of the information and the history, not for making sure that everyone has to read my name.
Muy bien, nos cuenta ya que nunca quiere estar en la Wikipedia porque una no tiene tiempo, evidentemente, porque Jared está siempre escribiendo sus libros, investigando y además está con Zippy, ¿no? Dándole caña y que no, que él cree que la gente que pierde el tiempo en Wikipedia, y tiene razón, es solo porque quieren ver su nombre escrito en la Wikipedia y ver que eso, claro, el que quiere escribir cosas importantes y cosas, escribe un libro, no escribe en la Wikipedia, evidentemente, y se informa y estudia, evidentemente, e investiga. Next one.
Yeah.
La siguiente pregunta, ¿realmente quién ha escrito, o sea, quién ha inventado la destilación? ¿Si han sido los chinos, los egipcios, los españoles?
The Arabs, okay. He said, okay, because now with you we can try to ask you very, very important questions. So, who was the first in distillate? Maybe the Greeks with Hypatia, or maybe the Egyptians, maybe the Chinese, who was the first one to distillate, to real distillate?
The first to distill?
Who was
Chinese.
Chinese.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's actually been fairly much proven that even though they found distillates in Israel or around Israel and Syria, that was brewing. Yeah. Brewing happened sometime in Mesopotamia, but China was the first place the distillates were noted, and then because then it went to Mongolia, and then it went to India, and then it went to Arabia, and then went to Europe.
Okay. So, all the history, perdón, en español. Nos cuenta Ani que originalmente son los chinos los primeros que se tiene noticia que destilan. Desde los chinos pasa a Mesopotamia, Babilonia, de ahí pasa a Egipto y de ahí viene hasta los árabes y sube hasta Europa. O sea que lo que nosotros entendíamos siempre, ¿verdad? Que todos pensamos que fueron los árabes los primeros en destilar. No, pues no, error, fueron los chinos. Hoy están cayendo muchos mitos. Today we are crashing a lot of mythology.
Speaking
it takes a little bit.
Speaking of which, there has been a recent discovery. Just a few years ago, a team of archaeologists working in what is now Israel discovered that a semi-nomadic tribe 13,000 years ago was growing wheat and barley and then malting them, so sprouting them and toasting them to make beer. So this was not getting a cheap buzz from rotten fruit, but complicated brewing 13,000 years ago. The most interesting part is semi-nomadic. This is the point at which we as a species moved from being hunter-gatherers to being farmers, not to bake bread, but to make booze, because we as a species cannot live in a settled community without drinking alcohol. And
that has a lot to say.
Because the number one cause of death throughout history was waterborne disease. The only preventive was to drink beer instead of water, drink wine instead of water. And so this is the point at which civilization was born, with the discovery of making alcohol.
Vamos allá. I love this sentence. I will try to translate perfect. Nos cuenta Yare que un pequeño grupo de arqueólogos ha encontrado hace muy poco tiempo han encontrado un yacimiento cerca de Israel en el que han encontrado un sistema semiautomático para la producción de cerveza, con plantaciones de lúpulo, con plantaciones de cebada, con incluso malteando, o sea, sabían maltear, y el punto, desde hace 13.000 años, casi nada, o sea, muy anterior a los egipcios, y nos cuenta ya que el punto interesante de lo que han encontrado es que era semiautomático, o sea, lo tenían preparado porque evidentemente en aquella época y hoy en día lo que ha hecho crecer a las civilizaciones ha sido su capacidad de producir licores, porque durante cientos y miles de años lo que ha protegido de las enfermedades, lo que nos ha servido para desinfectar, para tal, ha sido beber en lugar de agua cerveza y beber en lugar de agua vino. Eso es lo que ha permitido que los pueblos crezcan, que los pueblos se desarrollen, con lo cual casi tenemos una relación directa entre la producción de licores y de alcohol por parte del ser humano con su crecimiento y desarrollo. Incredible, incredible. I love this. Next question.
¿Cuál ha sido la historia que os ha llevado a un conflicto, incluso que habéis dejado de hablar unos días? ¿Y quién llevaba la razón de los dos?
Okay, there is any history that you think you have the truth and you think you have the truth too, and you are disappointed, and you fight between you someday in some history or in some article? Yeah.
Do we ever come up with conflicting theories and argue about them?
Between he and I?
Yes.
We have.
On occasion, but
When we do, if one can prove the truth to the other,
that's the trick.
then the other is always willing to accept the weight of evidence, the proof of evidence. If there is no evidence and each is just a theory, we don't bother talking about it, because the first thing that she will say or I will say is, show me proof.
Muy bien. Él dice, nos cuenta.
You know, just talking over a drink, nah. You need to hold up something like this and say, here is the 1825 original Excise Act that proves what I'm saying. Then you win the argument.
Then you win the argument every single time. But it's also something I've learned since I went back to university, is you can argue with people about your belief and my belief, but it's only a belief until you go, but this is this, and this is this, and this is this, and this was not written by a journalist, and this, and then you go, okay, never mind. You win. You win.
Okay. Nos cuenta Ari y Aren que sí, que bueno, que a veces discuten porque no discuten, sino que tienen diferentes ideas de un mismo caso, y que simplemente se dan las pruebas uno al otro, quieren pruebas y me dicen, mira, esto es lo único que vale, este artículo de 1866, y pruebas, y que si ven que no tienen pruebas y solo es una creencia, no hablan más del tema o lo hablan alrededor de un buen martini, y que si no hay pruebas y no hay evidencias, no discuten, se olvidan. Y que Jared normalmente le dice, mira pruebas, o ella le dice, mira pruebas, y dice, bueno, ok, tú ganaste, y se acabó.
Vale, vamos, os propongo un juego. ¿Queréis jugar?
Oh, I propose you a game. You want to play?
Sure.
Sure. Okay.
Yo voy a decir un nombre de un cóctel o de otra cosa y a ver quién dice primero la historia, ¿no? Que levanta la mano y dice primero.
Okay. He will say the name of a cocktail, and we will see who is faster to speak about the story of the cocktail. Is fine?
Okay.
To say me, okay? Faster as the other. Than the other. Okay, so here we
Okay.
go. Cocktail.
3, 2, 1, cider cup.
Sidecar.
Which,
Sidecar. Sidecar.
Oh,
oh, sidecar.
Jesus
That's
Christ. McGarry, Chatham Hotel, around the corner from Harry's New York bar in Paris.
Oh, wait. Lo he hecho en París, lo he hecho en todo. Perfecto. Here we go. Next one.
Moscow Mule.
Moscow Mule.
Moscow Mule,
You-
actually 1939, despite the 1944 that they claim,
Yeah.
and actually at the Chatham Hotel in New York, not the Cock and Bull Tavern in Hollywood. And it was based on the Queen Mary cocktail, signature drink on the Queen Mary and the Laconia Cunard ships, which was gin, ginger beer, and limes.
Un segundito, voy a...
So,
Sí.
now yes. No, sir, I don't know. Now yes, because the people is saying that they don't see.
Okay.
Second.
Mira, ahora.
Now yes.
Oh, we're good now.
You're back.
Yeah, we're back.
Yes.
Sí,
Go?
sí, sí.
Okay. Here we go. So, perfect. Ya lo viste, ¿no? Respuesta. Y de la buena. A good.
Puedo contestar,
a good
dilo
history.
en español.
Ah, pero lo quiero que. No, pero sí es larguísima. Bueno, se inventó en Nueva York, lo inventaron en 1939, no se inventó, como decían, en Hollywood, y que además fue el cóctel estrella durante muchos años del Queen Mary. Next one.
Espresso Martini.
Espresso Martini.
Dick Bradsell. Period. Don't ever hear Dale DeGraw. Dick Bradsell did it. I have the text on my phone from Dick Bradsell. Forget it. Done.
When someone wrote that it was Dale DeGraw, Dick Bradsell immediately texted Anastasia
and went crazy.
And Dick did not have a smartphone. So on little numbers, he sent about 500 words.
Imagínate. Dick Russell, que vaya, que está muy loco. No, que no, que estuvieron llamándose, mandó porque ya no tiene un smartphone. Y estuvieron hablando. Here we go. Next one.
Cosmopolitan.
Cosmopolitan.
Cosmopolitan,
Oh.
1933.
Like
1933, there's a tiny little booklet that has the Cosmopolitan Daisy, because it was a daisy-style cocktail made with gin, raspberry syrup, and citrus. There it is.
She might have been first to say it, but I was first to pull up the book.
Yes, there you go.
Inventó.
Who invented?
Oh, it was written up by the pioneers, in the pioneers of mixing at elite bars by the American traveling mixologists. And we republished this book a few years
That's
ago.
not what he was asking.
Yes, who invented it?
Who invented it? We have no idea. We know that it was from a collection that happened before the 1920s and was put into a collection by the early 1930s. So if it was Cheryl, whatever her name, Cheryl Cook.
In Florida in 1986.
Yeah, which
Toby
is...
Cicchini in 1989.
Toby admits he didn't invent
At
it.
the Odeon Dildegroff in 1990.
He did
at
not
the
invent
Rainbow
it at all. Cheryl was already there beforehand. I mean, Dale can say he made a lot of things. But he was working with Dale at the time at the Rainbow Room. Don't believe it.
Ah, that's the reason. Dice, nos cuenta Ani que no, que el cóctel Cosmopolitan se inventa en torno al año 1933, aparece en un recopilatorio ahí en ese momento. Lo que sí tenemos claro es que se inventa después en el recopilatorio que han republicado ellos, Jared y Ani, y que lo que sí tienen claro es que es de después de 1920, aparece en este recopilatorio, y que es un Daisy, es del estilo de los Daisy. En un principio la receta era muy diferente y que no lo hizo Dale DeGroff, aunque Jared se pretenda que lo haya hecho de él porque es amigo suyo y porque estaban juntos cuando escribieron el libro, cuando republicaron el libro. Pero no, Ani dice que no es de él. Next question, next one.
Aviation.
Aviation.
Oh, Lord.
1911 in Syracuse, New York. The name of the bartender is unknown, but it took its name not because it was a sky blue salute to the pioneers of aviation, but because it was so strong that just like getting into an airplane, one drop could kill you.
O sea que, muy bien, que no se sabe quién lo hizo, que es mentira, que se llame Aviation, porque parece el cielo cuando vas volando por encima de las nubes. Mentira, que se llama así porque te tomabas una gota, podía matarte y era muy fuerte y no podías ni subirte a la avioneta. Next.
Boadas.
Boadas.
Of course, it was done by, I don't know what year, but I mean, considering Miguel Boadas came from Cuba and got married, I mean, I'm going to say it was probably 1933, but I bet you anything he was making it out of Floridita before he arrived there.
Perfect. 1933, Miguel Boadas. You know perfectly.
Vamos con alguno muy importante de la historia, como es el Dry Martini.
Dry Martini.
The Dry Martini, I'm going to say that it was probably an invention by the Martini and Rossi Corporation back in the 1800s when they first started bringing over Martini and Rossi Extra Dry. Oh. And so the first time it appears in a book is, what was it, Haney's,
the first
1881 or 1882?
No, later, because the first time Dry Martini appeared in print, Dry Martini was in a newspaper article. It was a joke in 1896. I know there was one from 1895, but I can't find it again. So I have the joke from 1896. An actor walks into a bar after he's performed on Broadway, and he asked for dry martini. And he put down his hat and he went outside, and he came back in, and there by his hat was a martini. To the left of his hat was another martini. To the right was a third martini. He drank his, and then he said to the bartender, how much? 60 cents. 60 cents for one martini. You ordered dry. 1, 2, dry.
Ah.
That's the first dry martini joke.
The first time dry martini ever appeared in print was that.
But technically, the first martini that was not just a glass of martini and Rossi vermouth appeared in 1888 in Harry Johnson's book.
The recipe appeared.
The recipe appears.
A badly written recipe appeared in newspapers in 1886, but it called for equal parts of gin and orange bitters.
So, oh my God, vea, give me 1 second to translate. Nos cuenta Jared Yanni que el martini no tiene creador, probablemente lo creó Martini, Bacardi Martini, Martini and Rossi Corporation, la corporación Bacardi Martini, para promocionar su Martini Extra Dry, simplemente para eso. Él nos cuenta infinidad de fechas, pero dice ya que la más probable, porque él leyó un artículo de 1895 en el que aparece ya la palabra Martini refiriéndose al cóctel, y que el que conserva es del 96. Por lo pronto, entonces solo podemos hablar del 96 hasta que aparezca el de 1895. Además, la primera vez que se le pone la palabra dry delante, aparece como una broma. Me cuenta Jared, como una broma en un periódico, Art Deco, en el cual cuenta la historia de un señor que va a la ópera y se toma 3 martinis y le pregunta qué le debo, y le dicen, pues me des 65 centavos, ¿no?, de la época. Y le dice el tío, 65 centavos por un martini, y el camarero le dice, es que se ha tomado 3, 1, 2, dry martini. Y entonces de ahí viene la historia, es la primera vez que se ve escrito la palabra dry martini, se ve escrito como una broma en un periódico. Y después, bueno, evidentemente hay más versiones, pero que la primera que tenemos real como registro de la receta original sería partes iguales de vermouth y ginebra y orange bitter y bitter de naranja. Y ya está. Esa es nuestra historia.
Mojito.
There we go.
Mojito.
What?
Mojito.
Oh dear, here we go. The mojito, the last time I noticed was in a newspaper in 1917 that mentioned the drink was being made at the Balaneo bar in Havana. It's on the beach in a non-fancy area now, but it was a very fancy beach area for residents.
The hotel was La Concha.
La Concha. And the interesting part of it is that the mojito, the way that it was made, was with pomelo. And soda and rum. Now, if you're talking about the other version, which is the drakecito and the drake, that was not invented by Francis Drake. But it was something that was pretty obvious because his cousin, John Hawkins, was with him. And he knew how to make a, what would they call it?
A julep.
Yeah, a julep for stomachache. And all 3 of Francis Drake's ships who were raiding the Spanish Armada had belly sickness. So he came up with what he could. And he had spirit because they just raided Brazil. The Herba Buena was a type of mint that was in the area. And all he needed was a citrus. There's so many key limes there, who knows why. But there's proof that the drake was just a normal julep that was just something people used to use. And Europeans already knew about julep. So there you go. The ice came later. but the technical drink that we know, 1910.
Bueno, pues aquí tenemos la historia, otra historia que vamos a demoler. El mojito, otra historia que vamos a extraer. No es un Drake, no lo inventa Francis Drake. El que nos conocemos nosotros ahora mismo es muchísimo más joven y aparece en una playita de Cuba, que en el hotel, no sé si dijo, no sé qué, Jack, Col Jack, ¿no? Y ahí aparece en 1910 escrita, la primera vez que la conocemos escrita. Si nos preguntamos por la receta original, lo que todos los bartenders le contamos, ¿no? Sí, nos dice que la primera receta original era pomelo ron, y que no tenía nada que ver con la actual. Y si nos preguntamos por el Drake, por esa gran mentira que todos los bartenders le contamos a los clientes, no existe. Francis Drake no creó nada, al contrario, fue la Armada Española, porque estaban muy malitos, se morían de escorbuto, y entonces lo que hicieron fue hacerse un julepe, que era lo que tomaba la gente por ahí. Su julepito con su menta, su ron, sin hielo, evidentemente, porque no había, y los cítricos que encontraban, pues lo que había por ahí, limas, limones, lo que fuese. Ya habían cogido la cachaza y el ron de Brasil, siguieron para arriba, y empezaron a tomar eso. O sea que esa es otro de los grandes mitos. Otra cosa que nos roban los ingleses. ¿Has visto? Ahora resulta que el mojito es de la Armada Española y todos diciendo que era Francis Drake. Toma ya. Muy bien.
Vale, bueno, un cóctel más nuevo es Pornstar Martini.
Pornstar Martini.
Pornstar Martini, I'm going to say it was John Gakura, not Doug Ankara.
What about Jamie Tyrell?
It could have been Jamie, but I still think it was Johnny.
The three of them were working together at the townhouse on Beecham Place in London.
Yeah.
All together. And the first time that we had one, they were introducing it to us as a new drink that they had just invented and wanted us to taste.
And Doug was the owner of the bar, and so he took credit, but I still say it was John.
Jamie and John were the bartenders, and the name and the humor is far more John Gakuru.
Oh boy, is it. So,
but they are happy for Doug to have credit, and so they have left it at that.
Bueno, cuenta que bueno, sabes, de un bar de Londres, que estaban los tres bartenders, el dueño y los dos bartenders, Johnny y Jamie, sobre todo entre ellos dos está, y que justamente Jared y Annie estaban cuando lo crearon, y que les dejaron probarlo y tal y cual, y que dice Jared que probablemente lo mejor del cóctel es el nombre, que mola mucho, y nada, que están entre eso, entre Johnny o Jamie. Han dejado el sitio.
I thought he was going to ask about the daiquiri.
Vale, bueno, uno que ha traído mucho conflicto, el Mai Tai.
Oh, the Mai Tai.
¿Te Beach?
Which one?
which one?
Mai Tai, Brothers Big or Beach Club?
Which one?
Yes, there is only one Mai Tai.
There's
only
Mai
Trader
Tai.
Vic's.
Yeah, only Trader Vic's.
Dunn Beach, no, that's fruit punch.
Yeah.
That's a good question, I see.
Yeah, that's always the question of even, okay, if you wanted to think about it, it's like I put Don Beach's Mai Tai along with the Singapore Sling that's sold at Raffles now.
It's not the same drink.
It's not the original. So why are you
Oh,
serving
it's a good sentence, Annie.
Oh,
But
I mean, the Singapore Sling is a 1970s drink. It's not the original straight sling. It's like the difference of why would I want a tall thing in a hurricane glass instead of this lovely on the rocks rum drink? I mean, who knows?
yeah, so the Mai Tai, definitely Trader Vic, and a true classic, wonderful drink. If you like the Mai Tai, but you want an even simpler drink, have the Army Navy. The Army Navy with just the three ingredients, gin, orgeat, and the citrus. I also love that one. Two great similar drinks.
Nos cuenta Jared que solo hay un Mai Tai, que es el de Trader Vic, y nos dice Annie que el
Buffer. I hate it when the buffer goes.
El original es el Mai Tai de Trader Vic, con los ingredientes, es un cóctel maravilloso, clásico, y nos dice Jared que incluso se puede simplificar más a un cóctel exquisito, que es el Army, con solo los tres ingredientes. Y que vamos, exacto. que viene de Tradersvik, el original.
La siguiente es sobre una marca de gin.
Next one is about a gin brand.
Sismith.
Sipmit. Sipmit. What is Sipmit?
Ever heard of it?
Gin.
Gin. You like gin?
Gin.
Gin.
Yeah,
oh,
gin.
that one.
Yeah, gin. Remember? Gin?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I know
gin.
you make a vodka, but I mean, no, gin. You mean that one.
We're speaking about this one. What about this one? What can you tell us about this gin?
I would say that though the first bottles came out of the distillery on 14th of March 2009, I think it was really born 12th December 2007 at a Negroni party at the Beefeater Distillery, because that is where we met Sam and Fairfax. We had been trying to create a gin brand for more than a year at that time. They had been inspired by the craft movement in the States, and they wanted to get into distilling. And we got talking and realized we had to do it together.
Imagínate, nos cuenta Jared que la Sydney aparece en una fiesta estaban en Beefeater en una fiesta en 2007, cuando ya llevaban un año pensando en hacer la marca de Ginebra, y que nace la primera botella sale en 2009. Uy, se me perdió ahora. Que bueno, eso, que nace en 2009 y que bueno, es una ginebra. Ah, exacto, y que se pusieron de acuerdo a hacerla al estilo craft, artesanal, en crear una ginebra artesanal, totalmente artesanal, crear y con los mejores ingredientes.
You pull that out a lot.
The biggest challenge was this act from 1825 says, no person shall keep a still under 400 gallons or 1,800 liters.
18 hectoliters.
Yeah. So first, we had to overturn this act from 1825. This is why there were only 12 distilleries making 20 brands of gin in Britain because of this.
Hostia, porque hay
So one
de 1822 que dice que ninguna persona puede tener más de 400 galones de ginebra, y esa es la razón de que hubieran 12 destilerías haciendo 20 marcas diferentes como locas para poder producir el número de galones. Ahora, qué locura, ¿no? Gracioso.
Vale,
es que lo primero que tienen que hacer es eliminar eso, claro.
Última pregunta como curiosidad.
Last question, curiosity.
¿Hay algún cóctel escrito en la historia con mezcal?
Oh, there is a cocktail, a grated cocktail with mezcal in the history.
No.
a cocktail made with mezcal. Was there one in?
No.
Not that we have seen.
The earliest cocktails I've seen with tequila were Cafe Royal Cocktail Book and the Savoy, so 1930s. But for mezcal, no. Mezcal, I mean, first time I ever tasted it was because a friend had his father send a bottle in the 1960s. Then I didn't see it again until about 10 years ago.
Yeah.
So it never was really something that was marketed. It's like asking pisco. Pisco is another thing that was around, but nobody ever saw it outside of Peru and Colombia or Chile. So it's like, you know, hard to say if there was anything. I haven't seen a single thing yet. He's looking.
He's looking for a mezcal in a book.
No,
That's a tricky one.
Yeah. I'm just trying to find. There's a little booklet somewhere here from Maldonados of Monterrey, Mexico.
Bueno, les traduzco rápido. Nos cuenta Ani que no hay, en libros antiguos no hay ningún cóctel con mezcal, que el primero que aparece con tequila aparece en los años 30, y que sí que aparece algún cóctel con pisco, alguna cosita, que a ellos les mandaron una botella desde México de mezcal en 1960 y que no lo volvieron a ver nunca más hasta hace 10 años. O sea que quizás fue un problema que también no hay cócteles escritos con mezcal porque no salía de México. No había marketing, no había publicidad, no había nada. Y era más
Matador, yeah, but Matador,
¿Eh?
Matador is definitely tequila.
Where
Let's see.
is Maldonado?
I don't know.
Yeah, somewhere here is a tiny booklet called it's recipes from Maldonado's liquor store in Monterrey, Mexico. It is from during Prohibition and has no date. It has a tequila daisy in it, so margarita, but made with tequila and lemon and cherry brandy.
Curious.
I mean, even.
Mira, we have a question from a guy here. Is anything new on Harry Brown Johnson's grave?
Anything new on Harry Johnson's grave?
No, we know where it is. We haven't heard whether or not the city of Berlin will let us do anything yet. I'm still waiting to hear from one other person in Berlin about whether or not we are allowed to do something, because we spotted the place. We have the photo of where it is, but the city hasn't said anything yet.
And the tombstone was destroyed during the Second World War.
Yeah.
But we know exactly where it was.
Yeah.
And we would like to replace it, but we need the permission from the city.
Yeah. I mean, I would like to know that both Harrys are being respected, and we were so lucky to get Harry Craddock's stone redone, thanks to Plymouth. But and that one was easy because the city said, "Oh, sure, if you want to take a pauper's grave and put a new stone on it, no problem." I don't know why the difficulty in Berlin, but you know, eventually, hopefully, we'll get that done before I get too much older and too much gray hair. So.
Cuentan que sí, que encontraron el lugar exacto de la tumba de Harry, pero que fue destruido durante la Segunda Guerra Mundial. Todos los cementerios y todo fue destruido por los aliados, y que pese a que han encontrado el sitio exacto donde se supone que estaba la tumba, han intentado restablecer la tumba, volverla a poner en honor a Harry, pero no, el Ayuntamiento de Berlín no parece ser que no mueve ficha y que es más complicado de lo que a priori pudiese parecer, con lo cual no hay nada.
Bueno, daros las gracias. Esto es como hablar con el oráculo, de la verdad. Y ha sido un auténtico placer, lo hemos disfrutado muchísimo, podríamos estar aquí 5 horas y nada, estáis invitados cuando queráis a España a venir a lo que necesitéis.
It's an incredible pleasure, he says, to speak with you. It's like speaking with the oracle in Matrix. It's crazy because, you know, everything, you know, I love when you look together to the eyes, boom, 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 transmitting dates, incredible like a computer. So it's a very big honor for him. For me, it's more than a honor, you know, for me it's love because I love you a lot. So thank you so much. Thank you a lot. We can be 5 hours.
Uh-oh.
Oh.
Thank you.
So,
Wonderful.
Thank you so much.
Adal, I can't wait to see you in person and have a drink with you again soon.
20 minutes, we'll see you at the bar.
Hey, congratulations, Annie. Yesterday was your birthday. Happy birthday. 24 like me.
Yeah, right.
As persons, as historiadors, as everything. I love you.
Thank you. Gracias, chicos. Nos vemos 7 días.
Thank you.
You take care.